Okay, for our first video we're going to talk about Subatomic. This is a game for 2 to 4 players, 40 to 60 minutes and ages 10 or more. This is designed by John Cobello and the company is Genius Games, which are well known because of producing games with scientific backgrounds, and in this case the science behind it's nuclear physics plus deck builder. So let's see how it works. We place the board at the reach of all the players, and then we put the annihilation marker on the rightmost place corresponding to the number of players. In this case 2 players, so we put it here. We randomly choose 5 tiles from the 7 which are available in the game, and we distribute them into the end goals section. We place all the energy tokens on the top of the main board, and then we select 4 scientists from the 7 available on the game, and we make a stack of 3 cards of each one of them from lowest to highest value of energy. We mix the deck of element cards and we put 1 card in every one of these spaces, and we also do the same for the single particle cards. We put 1 of these cards below each one of these energy spaces, and we do the same with the multiple particle cards, which they are different because they have this small symbol here on the rightmost top corner, and the other ones do not have it. Every player receives an individual board with 3 particle markers, 10 goal markers with the corresponding color to the board, and an initial deck formed by 3 photon cards, 4 quark up quarks and 4 down quarks. The first player gets the first player marker. The objective of the game is to get as many victory points as possible, and we do that building the atoms or the elements that are available on the main board. We basically will be claiming these cards via building these atoms, for example beryllium, in our local atom, which is what is depicted in our player board. Playing our cards from our deck, our personal deck, we will play the cards here, and we basically are adding protons, neutrons and electrons to our personal atom. Once this is matching one of the atoms or the elements in the main board, we can claim that card. In our turn, the first thing we have to do is to get our hand up to 5 cards, and then we play these 5 cards, and this is our resource to do as many actions as we can afford. And we can choose from these 4 actions, and basically we repeat them as long as we can pay for them. For example, in this situation I can play these 3 cards, which is 2 down quarks and 1 up quark, which corresponds to 1 neutron. I'm basically building a neutron in my atom. And I can also play these 2 photons, which correspond to 1 electron, so I put an electron in my atom. And now I'm out of cards, so that's the end of my turn. As you can see, these cards are in fact pretty much quite weak, because you need, for example, 3 cards to just put 1 particle, 1 neutron in our atom. So a way to improve this is that we can in fact use these cards not to put this neutron now, but to buy 1 card which is just 1 neutron. For that we can go here to the market, and we see that there is 1 neutron here, and the cost is exactly the same cost that we need to use for adding this neutron to our atom. So we can pay this 2 down quark plus 1 up quark to buy this card. And we have to pay the corresponding energy on top of it, which in this case is 0. So we buy this one, we put it in our deck, in our discard pile, and we can use these 2 photons still to put our neutron, our electron there. But now we will have 1 neutron in our deck for the next turns, so we are improving the deck. Once I finish my turn, all the cards from the market are moved to the right, and then we refill the market with new cards. If at the beginning of the next round we have no cards in our hand, or we have less than 5 cards, we basically get new cards up to 5, and now we can play again the next round. In this situation, I would like, for example, to play these 2 photons here to buy that electron. but I need to pay 1 energy because it's in this position. So I have no energy, but one thing we can do is we can play cards face down here. Like this up quark and this down quark alone themselves are basically useless, so I will play them face down, and this gives me 2 energy, 1 energy per card. I get my 2 energy and I place it on my mat. Now I can pay 1 energy and these 2 photons to buy this electron, which goes to my discard card along with these 2 down quarks. But I still have my neutron. I can play it. This one is the one I got before. I can play it now and I can put directly 1 neutron in there, in our atom, and then all these things go to the discard pile. Let's explain a little bit the cards on the market, or the particle cards. These cards are basically divided in 2 groups, one which are single cards and one which are multiple particle cards. The main difference is that the ones on the top are always paid, or they are bought via paying quarks, while the ones in the second row, the multiple ones, are paid using full particles like protons and neutrons, okay, plus energy. Additionally, you have to pay the amount of energy which is corresponding to the column to which the card is. Now, these 3 cards are very simple. They basically allow you to add 1 proton, 1 neutron or 1 electron to your atom, while this one is a joker card and allows you to choose what kind of particle do you want to add at the moment you play. These other cards allows you to add multiple particles in one single movement. If I put these cards down, they allow me to add 2 protons or 2 neutrons, or I can choose to get 2 energy. These 2 cards, they give 1 reward, which is 2 protons and 2 neutrons in this case, but I have to pay 2 energy to use it. And this card allows me to add 1 proton and 1 neutron to my atom. Other kind of cards that you can buy are the scientist cards, which are exactly, the back of the card is exactly the same as the other particle cards, and they are added to your deck. The cost is specified here in energy, and they are in ascending values, so the faster you are, the less energy you pay. And these cards have very powerful actions that you can use when you play them. As said before, our objective is to buy or to build the elements that are in the main board. Now we are going to target lithium. Lithium needs 3 protons, 4 neutrons and 2 electrons. In order to build it, we need to create this element in our board. If we look at the situation in our board, we see that we are only missing 1 neutron. In this round, in our deck, we have been very lucky, and we have exactly the quarks that we need to build this neutron. So we build it immediately. And now we could buy this element, but the problem is that we need 3 energy. And we have only 1 energy in our board. But fortunately we have 2 cards that we don't need. We can play them face down. This gives us 2 energy more, and now we can spend this energy to buy lithium. This will give us 7 points at the end of the game. Now, the interesting part is now, because we built this element, we can take 2 goal markers of our color and put them in 1 or 2 different end goals. The thing is that we cannot choose lithium, because this is exactly the element we built. So we can choose any other element. We can do helium and beryllium, for example, or we can put 2 of them in helium. Now, if we do that, we can choose maximum 1 single token of end goals, and this will grant us a benefit that we can use right now or in future turns only once. The game proceeds until a player puts the last 2 markers, goal markers, on the end goals. Then we finish the round, and if there is a player who still has some goal markers, they can put up to 2 of them anywhere in these end goals. So let's put them like here and here. So now we have to score. We proceed to the final score, and then what we have to do is we gain as many victory points as the mass number of every element we have built. In this case, this is 26 points. And finally, we get the victory points due to the end goals. This is area control. mechanism, as you can imagine, and who has the majority on each one of them will get the higher score. In this case, for example, for helium, orange will get 4 victory points for every helium that the player built. In this case, 2 helium, so that's 8 points. The second the second player with most gold markers will get the lowest score per card. But now the trick is that, remember that when you build helium, for example, you cannot put control markers on helium. So the only way to get control markers on an element is to build other elements, and that's the major trick of this game. If there is a tie, then you sum up both scores and you divide by 2, rounding down. In this case, it's 2 victory points for every lithium that you built. There is the last group, which is this element set. You get, if you have the majority, you get 2 victory points for every different element that you build. In this case, we have 3 different elements, that will be 6 victory points. Who has the most victory points is the winner. One final thing we can do with energy is to annihilate cards. We can pay a certain amount of energy, and this will allow us to remove from the game up to 2 cards from our hand. This is a way of cleaning up the deck from cards that we don't need anymore. The amount of energy that we have to pay is determined by the annihilation marker. We start with a value of 2. That means that if a player pays 2 energy, they can discard or eliminate up to 2 cards, and then they move this marker down to increase in value. Then the next player has to pay more to do the same action, and this is moved to the right until it reaches the maximum value. From that moment on, every player that wants to annihilate cards, they have to pay for energy. And one final thing is that if we have, at any moment, we have 3 cards which are identical in our hand, we can show them to the other players, we discard one of them, and then we get a new card from our deck. This is a way of keeping a more balanced hand at any moment. Okay, that was Subatomic. Now, final thoughts.
This very nice game.
She like it.
Yes. It's a deck builder game. Usually these games are a little bit solitary, I think, but in this case it's very nice with the board in the middle, where everybody has to fight somehow to get to build the elements. So in that case you can interact a little bit more.
It's very nice because this multi-solitary aspect of deck builders is quite mitigated, or a little bit more mitigated in this game. Still, we played with 2 and 4 players, and the turns are relatively fast. Maybe at the end of the game, when you have many cards with many powers, you have to think a little bit more, but it's not really getting much longer with 4 players, for example. And you like, also you was mentioning before that you like a lot the design.
Yes, I mean the art is awesome. I think it's great, so many colors, you can see very well the protons, the neutrons, they are great actually.
Yeah, it's really well designed. You know also that the type of quarks that will be more useful for what type of particle, because up quarks are red, so protons are red, and you know that then you need 2 of those for the protons, while down quarks are blue, which correspond more for the neutrons. And also the neutrons, they have this face, which is like I don't care, because they are neutrons, which is very nice. And in fact what you just show is the science booklet, the science behind. So they provide this booklet which explains what kind of physical processes they are mimicking with the rules of the game. So this is very nice.
So scientific, you think that is right?
That's correct. Everything is correct.
Good
And I love it. In fact, this company is well known about that. This company is called Genius Games, and they are well known because they produce games which have a scientific background. In fact, which one is the one in biology?
Cytosis.
Cytosis is the big one that they have in the biology realm, and they also have chemistry games, and they keep producing really high quality games, and which are in fact for gamers.
Yes, actually yes. You are enjoying, you are playing, but you are learning. So what else can you ask for?
Even without your consent, you are learning. So it's very nice. And in fact, this was a Kickstarter that came just, I think, last week. But in Essen, I think they will be selling these games there. So if you can grab one, don't hesitate.